Hello, good people of Grace Episcopal Church and those that are joining us from other places. Welcome to Soul Stirring, a video all about food, cooking, the Bible, and music. I'm Millie Morrow, and I am Rector of Grace Episcopal Church.
I'm Bill Buchanan. I'm a Presbyterian pastor and the Executive Director of Youth Mission Co. and her husband.
So Bill and I often get made fun of by our children for arguing about theology and talking about the Bible while we're cooking dinner. So we thought it would be fun to bring the discussion to you, to offer you some history on the text for the upcoming week, to talk about our thoughts about the lectionary text and how it informs our living and our loving in the world, and then offer you all also a recipe for the meal that we're making, some good tunes to lift us up, and maybe some questions that you can discuss with the people you love around your dinner table. Our hope is that you come to know the Bible and the people that you love even more deeply through talking about Scripture and the lives that we're living as Christians. So here we are. It's all about the Bible, it's all about cooking, and it's all about music. So I'm so glad that you joined us tonight.
All right.
So what are we eating tonight, Bill?
Yeah, so tonight we're going to do one of our favorite kind of go-to dishes. It's called shakshuka, and it's popular in Israel and in Mediterranean areas. I've heard there's a version of this in Tunisia and different places, but we got familiar with it through some of our friends and seeing some recipes online, and know that it's popular in Israel, which is another place that we love to visit. So the way that shakshuka works is it's basically onions and peppers and tomatoes and a bunch of yummy stuff all stewing together in a pan, like a cast iron dish or a Dutch oven, something like that. When you get towards the end, you put some fresh eggs on top of it and get those melting in there and starting to cook. And then you serve it like that, straight out of the dish.
Pop it in the oven,
cooked in.
You stew it, and then pop it in the oven. And then you bring it out and throw it on.
Typically served over couscous, which is really yummy. And just so you know, we're going to put recipes to these dishes online so that you can have access to that and you can try making some of these dishes yourself.
Awesome.
So, I'm going to start cutting up some stuff.
Okay.
And how about you read a text for us?
I'll do that.
This Sunday.
All right. So our text for this Sunday comes from the book of Mark, and it is the story of the Transfiguration. So here we go, Mark chapter 9, verses 2 through
2 through
11.
9, I think.
2 through 9?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is a lectionary, yeah.
Okay, here we go. 6 days later, Jesus took with him Peter and James and John and led them up on a high mountain apart by themselves. And he was transfigured before them, and his clothes became dazzling white, such as no one on earth could bleach them. And there appeared to them Elijah with Moses, who were talking with Jesus. Then Peter said to Jesus, "Rabbi, it is good for us to be here. Let us make 3 dwelling places, one for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah." He did not know what to say, for they were terrified. Then a cloud overshadowed them, and from the cloud there came a voice, "This is my son, the beloved. Listen to him." Suddenly, when they looked around, they saw no one with them anymore but Jesus. As they were coming down the mountain, he ordered them to tell no one about what they had seen until after the Son of Man had risen from the dead. So Mark.
Quite a text, quite a text.
And this is our last reading for the season of Epiphany, because next week, believe it or not, is Lent, which is crazy. But this is our last reading for the Epiphany because this is like the last reading where Jesus becomes known as divine, right? And so, first of all, I guess I'm wondering, like, why is he taking all these people up to a mountaintop all by themselves?
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's not all of the disciples.
Nope.
It's just like James and John and Peter,
Yep.
right? And it takes them up to this this place, and then this crazy thing happens.
Right.
This transfiguration, and one of my favorite parts of this text is like Peter's response. Like
Yes.
it's like he doesn't know what to do with his hands, right? It's just like, oh man, this is really great. We should do something.
We should build something.
Let's make some tents or some booths for you.
We should build something permanent. and what's interesting to me, or what I don't really fully understand, is the next line is, he did not know what to say to them because they were terrified. Is that Jesus didn't know what to say?
No, I think it's like it's an aside. My understanding is this is an aside to the audience reading it, saying, "Forgive Peter. He didn't know what he's doing. He was scared to death. So he just said something." I mean, that's really the way I understand it.
I think you could be right? Like, have you ever had a moment in your life where like things are going so perfectly that you just want to make everything permanent? No change. Let's build a house. Let's keep it exactly like this because this is good, right? So if it's good, it shouldn't change.
Right. Well, yeah. Let's make it last a little longer. Let's stay there a little longer, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I love how Jesus just completely ignores what Peter says.
Peter is so great, right? Because Peter is like the guy who's like, I'll step out on the water, or hey, but yet he never gets it right, but Jesus just loves him anyway.
Yeah.
And then he really doesn't get it right in the end, right? Because he's the guy that gives Jesus away.
Well, I mean, that would be Judas.
He was one of the guys.
and Peter denies him. Peter denies. That's where you're going.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he really doesn't get it right.
Right. No, he definitely messes up a lot, which is what makes him so easy for us to relate to. One of the things that I love about it is that we hear the same thing that we heard at the baptism, right? This voice comes out and says, "This is my beloved, my son, the beloved, listen to him." And to me, that was the biggest part that stuck out to me. That like, we want to do something.
Yep.
We want to do something, but Jesus is actually just in our presence. Just stop and listen. That's the call. Don't create something.
Don't build something.
Don't try and make it last. Just there's a moment. Listen to him.
And I would imagine that as a person who runs mission programs, that's probably really resonates with you, right? Because when we go to do mission, we always want to do something.
Right.
We want to build something. We want to make it, we want to see ourselves as useful. But actually what we're hearing in this text is you are most useful when you just listen to Jesus. Listen to those who are struggling. Listen to those who are suffering. Just listen. You don't need to build anything.
Reminds me of Mary and Martha, and where Martha's like, "Tell Mary to help me out. I'm doing all this myself."
Right.
And Jesus is like,
understand.
Actually, Mary's got the right idea. Sit and listen. There's important things that are being said, and
absolutely
be in that moment and just experience.
But isn't that hard? It's hard to just sit and listen when things are going well, and it's hard to sit and listen when things aren't going well. We want to be useful, but to understand that sitting and listening is useful. Okay, so help me understand this, Bill. Why this messianic secret? I mean,
right.
Why?
So that's the thing with Mark, right? Everything happens super fast with Mark. Immediately they go here, then they go there,
and it's the first book.
Right, and it's the first gospel to be written down.
In 60.
60-ish, something like that, we think, AD.
Who knows, but that's what we think.
Yeah, but there's this secret, like you have to get to the end of the story before the secret gets told, right? And so that's the thing. He does miracles, and then he says, "Don't tell anybody about this."
That's so interesting. So maybe part of what he's saying is, don't go around talking. It's still time to listen. Listen to each other. Listen to me. Listen.
And I think when you look at the whole gospel in its entirety, it's like there's going to be a moment
where all this makes
where
sense.
it all comes together, and then it will be the time to talk, right? So just be patient. You're not in charge. Somebody else is. Pay attention.
Trust God.
Right.
Pay attention. Listen.
And your moment will come.
And I love this for the season right before we enter Lent, because the season of Lent is not a season for action. It's a season for contemplation. It's a season to pray. It's a season to listen. It's a season to discern. And so I think we're being invited in this scripture to cease our human impulse to build, to do, to feel worthwhile, to feel useful, and to understand that listening and learning and discerning is really, really useful if we're going to really understand this whole story that Jesus is offering us. Yeah, preach, bruh.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, good stuff.
It is good stuff. All right, so I think some questions that you can ask each other at dinner. When have you experienced transfiguration in your life that you knew you needed to stop what you were doing and just listen? What have you witnessed that you knew God was in it and you needed to stop and just listen? So that's a really good one. And then I think as we're going into Lent, what is going to be your practice of listening, of discerning during this time, in this season, in this life that we are living? And how can you all support each other in that? How can you give each other some love so that you're able to just stop and listen to what God has to say to you?
A little grace.
A little grace.
Yeah.
A little grace. All right, you all. Well, thanks for listening, and we hope that you tune in next week as well. And so, Bill, give us a song to lift us up.
All right, song to go out on. This is from one of our favorite soul bands from LA called Breakestra. And check out their music. We're going to have a Spotify playlist that's got all these songs week to week, so you can take a look at that, and we hope you'll enjoy this music as well. This is a song from Breakestra called Need a Little Love. Hope you enjoy it.
Bye.
All right.
No. Let's wait. Put garlic in there. That's it.
Garlic, yeah.